All right. United confident of Benjamin Sesko 75 plus 10 million bid. Remember, United have already gone ahead to submitting that bid some 4-5 hours back, and you're waiting for a reply coming in from the side of RB Leipzig, because the club of Man United has made a bid that is 5 million less than that of Newcastle. Newcastle went ahead to obviously put in a bid of close to 90 million euros with 80 million euros of guaranteed fees and 10 million euros of add-ons. And here we come to see whether this will obviously go ahead to shadow what United have gone ahead obviously putting into the mix. And a little bit of Antony. We're obviously going to be discussing about Antony, as fellow United players believe that he can suit into the system. And it takes back to what Amorim said when we were in the United States of America about the players that will obviously fail to get clubs after the end of the summer transfer window. And his submission was like, they're welcome back into the squad. That's what went ahead to getting through from a man known as Ruben Amorim, right? So guys, let's obviously try to obviously get up and running, but don't forget to subscribe to this channel so as not to miss out on stories that we do upload in here on a daily. Now, we obviously have a story coming in through from Anil. He's called Anil Kandola. He's a TalkSport correspondent. He has told us that Man United are confident their offer of 75 plus 10 million euros for Benjamin Sesko will be accepted. United were only going to bid once they receive a significant indication the player wants the move to Old Trafford. Now, why is this very important? United felt ashamed with the deal of with the deal of Gyökeres. To an extent that they said that they are not interested in the deal. Yet we all know that United wanted to sign a player known as Victor Gyökeres. And when you look at the amount of money they've gone ahead of sending as a bid for a man known as Benjamin Sesko, it's even more than the amount of money that Arsenal paid for Victor Gyökeres, because for Arsenal they had to pay I think it was 68, right? 68, was it around 68 million euros around the corner, but the side of Man United is paying 85 million euros. And what did Sporting Lisbon want? Sporting Lisbon wanted only 80 million euros to see to it that they let the player leave and go to the side of Arsenal. So United were confident of this deal, and they really had the money to obviously bring in Victor Gyökeres. And Gyökeres continuing snubbing Man United really didn't go on well with the people at Man United. That's why they were hesitant to obviously put in a bid for Benjamin Sesko, and they're like, we will only bid, hear me out, United will only bid if at all they obviously get green light from a player known as known as Benjamin Sesko. And when the bid went in today, that's why Nicole Kandola is saying that the bid went in because United were confident that is enough to spark off the Benjamin Sesko deal to Manchester United. That's what we are getting in from Anil Kandola. And the fixed fee that RB Leipzig needs is only 75 million euros. That's why the guaranteed fee was 75 million euros and the add-ons were just 10 million euros from the club of Man United. That is it. Then Anil Kandola went ahead to obviously tell us that I was told last week Sesko's preference is Man United over Newcastle, but the player always wanted to be respectful to RB Leipzig. At this stage, it would come as a shock if Sesko to Man United doesn't have a significant breakthrough this week. So, Sesko to Man United will have a significant breakthrough this week, and the deal looks like it's going to be done this week. And you remember when we are heading to this week, Fabrizio Romano told us that this week is really very important into the deal of Benjamin Sesko on whether he's going to be playing for Newcastle or Man United. But his preference is to come in through and really kick ball for the club known as Manchester United. You understand? And we are really hugely respectful for that. That at least for now, amidst us not having European football, a player like Benjamin Sesko will obviously want to join the club of Man United. And I tell you what, I'm not really shocked for such because we are competing with a team known as Newcastle. Now tell me, if it was Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City, or Liverpool, do you think United would have gone ahead to stand a chance? United wouldn't have gone ahead to stand any chance. If at all, any of those clubs really came in through to show interest in a player known as Benjamin Sesko, because it's the same scenario, you know. It was the same scenario with Victor Gyökeres, you know. If Arsenal was out of the equation and the likes of Juventus, Napoli were the only ones into the competition to obviously send the player, I tell you what, Victor Gyökeres would have gone ahead to obviously come and really sign for the club of Man United, you know. But Arsenal's coming in through wouldn't obviously win over us. That's why I tell you that I'm not shocked with what we call United being the preferred destination for a player known as Benjamin Sesko, because obviously we are Manchester United and Newcastle is Newcastle, and however much they're really having Champions League football, Benjamin Sesko knows to it that if United really does its stuff right this season, they can obviously get back in the Champions League, and Newcastle has an assurance of really getting back into the Champions League because they played in the Champions League of 2023 and last season they never represented. You understand? So they don't give him an assurance that they can continuously play in the Champions League. That is it. So that's what we've gone ahead to get from Anil, and I think it's really very important. You know, United is confident, and Benjamin Sesko preferred destination is Man United. Deal expected to obviously get done and dusted this week. You understand? So that's what we've gone ahead to get him through from the man himself known as Anil. And let's obviously get to Andy Martin, another United person who is really so close to the club. And we are being told by Andy Martin that Man United have bid 75 million euros guaranteed fees plus add-ons for their long-term target Benjamin Sesko. United understand that the player wants to move to Old Trafford and hope that it goes through in the same manner as Bryan Mbeumo's recent protracted transfer. So, if you've been following up onto Bryan Mbeumo, you obviously have to understand that he's a guy who has obviously gone ahead to really put in a very huge shift in all what he has been doing. And he told clubs that were really chasing after him that I'm not really giving you a chance. I'm only giving a chance to one club known as Manchester United. And I think the club of Man United really thinks that it's obviously gonna be the same. You know, they believe the player will obviously give them steady assurance and really be patient and block all other interested parties in signing him to see to it that all goes on well as planned. You understand? So that's exactly what you're really having in through from Andy Martin. United believes that Benjamin Sesko will do what Bryan Mbeumo and Matthias Cunha really did for them to come in through and really join the club of Man United. We all know to it that Arsenal wanted Cunha. Nottingham Forest wanted Cunha. Nottingham wanted Cunha. All those three teams that we're talking about were playing in Europe, and their positions in Europe were already guaranteed. But the player was like, I'm not obviously going to be playing for a club known as Arsenal, Nottingham, Newcastle, I'm going to Man United, you know. And for Bryan Mbeumo, Arsenal, Chelsea, Spurs, Liverpool, 4 top clubs were interested in him, and was like, my club is Man United, and I believe I'm obviously gonna be thriving in there. So for everything that is not happening right at Manchester United, we can obviously have something to brag about, that at least we have players who can say, I'm not going Arsenal, I'm not going Liverpool, I'm not going anywhere, I'm going to Man United. Meaning that we are having people maybe who are really convincing these players. And for Benjamin Sesko, it's a special case because Christopher Vivell has worked with the side of Red Bull for some time, and he's key in persuading Benjamin Sesko to come to Man United. That is it. He's really key, and he's the key factor in persuading the player to come in through and really kick a ball for the club of Man United and not even find himself looking elsewhere. And that is Christopher Vivell for you. From there, Andy Morton went ahead to obviously say that United tried to sign Benjamin Sesko 3 times before. He was the number 1 target as recently as last year. A player considered a top quality long-term option. For that, we know when United started to chase for the signature of Benjamin Sesko. That was way back in 2022 when Erik ten Hag was here. As United chased to bring in a striker, as Antony Martial was really an injury-prone player, we had to go in for Benjamin Sesko, but they are calling in for 50 million euros, and United we are willing to obviously offer 25 to 30 million euros. And Salzburg was like, we are not selling the player. And however much very many other teams are interested in the player, they went ahead to sell him to their sister club, that is none other than Leipzig. And obviously 3 seasons later, the guy is really making abnormal profits for this team known as abnormal profits for this team known as RB Leipzig and RB Salzburg. I tell you, the guy is really making some huge monies for them. So that's it for Benjamin Sesko, and we hope for the better, that the player really chooses Man United over anything else. But as I told you yesterday, the signals are really showing that Benjamin Sesko is coming to Man United. Why? If he wanted to go to Newcastle, I think a here we go would have already gone ahead to be announced, as Newcastle have gone ahead to make 2 bids. Though the first one was rejected, second one not rejected, but the player was like, I'm waiting for Man United obviously put in their bid, meaning that everything depends onto Benjamin Sesko. So it depends onto Man United. If United gets their bid right and it gets accepted by the side of RB Leipzig, that means the player will obviously choose United over Newcastle into the mix, unless otherwise United find themselves bottling this deal. I think that's the only way we can miss out onto a player known as Benjamin Sesko. But as it stands, the player is a United preference destination in there. So let's go to Antony. This is Jacobs Ben, tier 1 journalist from England. He says, there is a feeling from Matthias Cunha, Bryan Mbeumo, and other senior Man United players that Antony is a good fit in the system, despite the Brazilian pushing for a move. Now, there are certain things I don't even want to hear about. You know, I don't doubt the quality of Antony. I know Antony is really a quality player, and we saw to it that when he went to Rio Betis, he really went ahead to put in brilliant performances as a player. So, if that's the case, I cannot come out here and I really downplay what he can do in the system of Ruben Amorim, you know. But Antony is already biased with Man United, and when you look at how Amorim has gone ahead to sign players, it shows you that the position that Antony can obviously come in through and really play in has been fully occupied, you know, as the addition of Bryan Mbeumo just shows you that the manager is not really in need of an Antony. Because if Antony was in the plan of the manager, there is no reason as to why I would have wanted obviously sign him Bryan Mbeumo, but he's no longer in the plans of Ruben Amorim. That's why he was not even part of the preseason. You understand? I understand Cunha is Brazilian, and he would love to obviously have a fellow Brazilian in the team, because if Antony goes, I think Casemiro will be the only one left Brazilian player in the squad of Man United. And for Casemiro, I believe his contract is coming to an end next summer. That is it. When it comes to the end of next summer, I don't see another Brazilian in the club of Man United, meaning that he might really feel lonely there. And that's why I think he wants Antony there. For Bryan Mbeumo and other senior players, I think they should sit down, relax and float, because Antony doesn't want to play at Manchester United anymore. His performances were ruined at Man United, and he never played for Brazilian again until he went ahead and obviously showcased at Rio Betis, and Brazil went ahead obviously called him to obviously put in his efforts into their World Cup qualifying campaign. So with all that put together, I think let Antony go. Antony should be let to go either to Rio Betis. I saw Al Nassr interested in him, and the latest is Erik ten Hag. Erik ten Hag, former manager of Man United, went ahead and signed Antony, is interested in signing the lad, and he wants him at the club of Bayern Leverkusen. And remember, Bayern Leverkusen is playing, I think, on the 8th. They are playing at Stamford Bridge against Chelsea. So don't even start that talk. Don't even start that talk. That list of 5 players, I wish they all leave. Rashford has left. Sancho has not yet left. Garnacho has not yet left. Malacia has not yet left. Antony hasn't left. It's only Rashford that has gone ahead to leave. We need to clear out all these players and let the manager start on a clean slate. You understand? Let the manager start with a clean canvas and really build his team to where we want it to be. I'm 100% behind this manager, and I used to say for Erik ten Hag, I don't want to see any United manager sacked in the next 5 years. I could give Erik ten Hag 5 seasons at Manchester United. If he fails, then we let him go. And this is something that we have to learn from, you know. Louis van Gaal sacked by the end of the 2nd season. Mourinho sacked in the 3rd season. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer sacked in the 3rd season. Erik ten Hag sacked in the 3rd season. That meant that we have to learn from this sequence. Let us keep our manager here for the next 5 years. Ruben Amorim, good manager, young, and he's intelligent. He knows what the modern game is all about. So let him see all these players leave and let him build his own club or his own team. And if he's to build his own team, I tell you what, they shouldn't tamper with him. He should be here for 5 seasons, because 5 seasons he would have gone already to obviously overturn everything around at the club of Man United. That's what I really think. But for Antony, I want him out. I want him out, because if we can get 30 million euros from him, that's better. If there is no club willing to offer us the money for a permanent move of Antony because of the amount of money that Antony earns at the club of Man United, let's obviously add a 1-year contract onto his deal at Man United and loan him back to Rio Betis. You understand? Then we'll obviously scoop out our money slowly by slowly. And that's exactly what the side of Atletico Madrid did to obviously get back all its money they used to buy a player known as João Felix. Because when they loaned him to Chelsea, they told Chelsea, I think when they loaned him to Barcelona, they told Barcelona, you're going to give us a 10 million euro loan fee. And they told the player, if we are to sanction your loan move, you're obviously gonna extend 1 year, one more year in there. They did it when he went to Chelsea, meaning that they had collected close to 20-30 million euros from all those loan spells. And when he permanently moved to Chelsea, I think they had obviously collected his amount of money that they had bought. They had brought him from Benfica because he was really earning a lot of money, and obviously they could save close to 10 to 12 to 100,000 pounds a week. Now, if you add all that, they are really into a better profit yielding from that player. So guys, thank you very much for watching through. I had taken long without recording a 20-minute video on this channel, but finally it's here. Tell me your thoughts about Benjamin Sesko deal or transfer to Man United happening this week. What are your thoughts about that? And senior players thinking that Antony can turn it around at Man United. Do you agree with them? For me, I don't. Let Antony leave and let's see how Bryan Mbeumo, Amadi Diallo do their thing onto that side of the pitch. We out. Bye-bye.